Right now, something massive is happening. Something that has left officials in Washington completely shocked. Something that has European leaders deeply worried. Something that has experts around the world trying to understand what just happened. And all of this came from one interview, just one single interview. Not months of secret talks, not weeks of careful planning. Just one conversation that changed everything. One interview that has put Ukraine's future in doubt. One interview that has raised huge questions about secret diplomacy. One interview that might change how this entire war ends. What Donald Trump said today crossed a boundary that the Biden team, NATO leaders, and Ukrainian officials hoped nobody would cross. And when that boundary was broken, people reacted fast. They reacted with shock. They reacted with worry. They reacted with careful silence. Because what Trump claimed was not just talk. He said he had a private conversation with Vladimir Putin. He said he could end the biggest European war since World War II in just 24 hours. This is not just politics anymore. This is something that could shake the whole world. And tonight, we are going to explain everything, what was said, what it means, and why the next few weeks could decide what happens to millions of people. For a long time now, there have been rumors, not official news from government buildings, not formal announcements from military leaders, just quiet rumors. Whispers that Donald Trump was planning something big about Ukraine, something nobody had seen before. Yes, Trump has criticized sending money to Ukraine. Everyone knows that, but his criticism always followed a pattern. He would complain about the spending. He would question whether the strategy was working. He would suggest he had a better way, but he never gave details. He kept everyone guessing. But this week, something changed. The pattern stopped. For several days, Trump said nothing about Ukraine. Complete silence. People who watch political communications know what this means. When someone suddenly stops talking about an issue they have been pushing for months, something big is coming. No social media posts, no interviews, no comments from his team. Everything went quiet. And when Trump goes quiet, it usually means he is about to get very loud. Sources close to his campaign said he was preparing a major announcement about foreign policy, but nobody knew what it would be. Nobody expected him to say he had been talking directly to Vladimir Putin. Nobody expected him to claim he could stop a war that has killed hundreds of thousands of people. A war that has forced millions to leave their homes. A war that has changed the world. But that is exactly what he said. And now everyone is trying to figure out what comes next. Early this morning, people who watch the news closely noticed something strange. Multiple news channels that support Trump started saying the same things at the same time. This kind of coordination does not happen by accident. It only happens when a campaign wants to prepare people for something major, a big policy change, a dramatic announcement, or a calculated move designed to cause a reaction. Nobody knew which one it was. Maybe it was all three at once. But everyone could see that Trump was changing his approach to Ukraine. And when a former president who might become president again changes his approach, the whole world pays attention. Then came the interview. Trump sat down with a conservative news outlet and made the statement that has dominated every news channel since. He said, and I quote, "I have talked to Putin. I have talked to Zelensky. I know both of them very well. And I can tell you, I could end this war in 24 hours, maybe even faster." When the interviewer asked for more details, Trump refused to explain. He said if he revealed his plan, it would not work anymore. But he insisted he had a plan, a good plan. And both Putin and Zelensky knew about it. Then he said something that sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles around the world. He claimed he had recent conversations with Putin, very productive conversations. He said Putin respects strength. He said Russia did not invade Ukraine when he was president because there was no weakness. He said the current situation is the worst anyone has ever seen. The meaning was clear. Trump was claiming he had been in direct contact with the Russian president. If this is true, it would be an extraordinary violation of normal rules. If it is not true, then we have to ask why a presidential candidate would make up such a story. Either way, the damage was immediate. The response from the White House tonight was not normal. It was not routine. It was not just a standard statement. It was urgent. After emergency meetings, senior officials described Trump's claims as reckless. They called them potentially dangerous. And most importantly, they suggested they might be illegal under something called the Logan Act. Let me explain what the Logan Act is for those who do not know. It is a federal law that makes it a crime for private citizens to negotiate with foreign governments on disputes involving the United States. Now, this law has rarely been used, but the fact that it exists sends a clear message. Regular citizens should not be doing secret diplomacy, but the legal questions are not what worry officials the most. What concerns them is the strategic impact. If Trump has been communicating with Putin, even through other people, it could damage ongoing diplomatic efforts. It could signal to Putin that he just needs to wait, that relief might be coming if he holds on long enough. It could encourage Russian military leaders to keep attacking because they believe help is on the way. Ukraine did not wait to respond. Their reaction today was one of the strongest we have seen since the war started. Within hours of Trump's interview, Ukrainian officials released a formal statement. This was not the usual careful diplomatic language. This was direct. This was clear. This was designed to send a message not just to Trump, but to all Americans. A senior advisor to President Zelensky said, Ukraine's independence is not something to bargain with. Any peace plan that rewards attack is not peace. It is giving up. And Ukraine will never give up. The message could not be more clear. Ukraine will not accept any deal forced on them without their agreement. Tonight, multiple sources confirmed that Ukrainian diplomats have been working nonstop since Trump's interview. They have been reaching out to allies across Europe and beyond. Their goal is simple: to make sure everyone knows that Ukraine remains committed to its goals no matter what any American politician says. Ukraine's foreign ministry released a detailed statement addressing what they called speculation about rushed peace proposals. They made several key points very clear. First, any peace agreement must include giving back all Ukrainian territory, including Crimea. Second, Russia must be held responsible for war crimes that international observers have documented. Third, security guarantees must be solid and real, not empty promises that can be broken later. Fourth, Ukraine and only Ukraine has the right to decide its own future. In simple terms, Ukraine made clear they will not be pushed into accepting terms decided by others. This is what made the situation so explosive. Trump's claims were not just about ending the war. They were about who gets to decide how the war ends. For Ukraine, this question is about survival itself. European allies started speaking out too. A spokesperson for Germany said they remain fully committed to supporting Ukraine for as long as needed. French officials said similar things. One diplomat told reporters that there's no quick fix for peace. Real peace requires justice, and justice requires holding people accountable. The British Foreign Secretary was even more direct. They said any proposal that accepts territory being taken by force is not a peace plan. It is an invitation for more attacks in the future. The message from Europe was unanimous. They are not buying what Trump is selling, not right now anyway. Here is where things get even more interesting. Intelligence experts now believe Trump's comments were a test. After months of political uncertainty in America, he wanted to see if NATO allies would break apart under pressure. He wanted to see if the alliance would crack. But the opposite happened. European leaders did not hesitate. They released statements that were so unified, so coordinated, that even people watching from Russia noticed. Getting the Kremlin's attention is not easy. But today, the Western alliance did exactly that. Former diplomats who spoke anonymously described Trump's approach as keeping everyone guessing, a way to position himself as the only person who can make deals happen. But Ukraine showed today that they are both strong and smart. Their diplomatic responses were fast. They addressed each point Trump made without attacking him personally. That kind of self-control matters. It shows that Kiev understands American politics. It shows that Ukraine is not just sitting and waiting for help. They are actively shaping the story. And in modern war, stories are just as important as weapons. One former Secretary of State made an important observation. She said the concerning thing is not that Trump wants peace. Everyone wants peace. The concerning thing is suggesting peace can happen quickly just through personal relationships. That is not how diplomacy works. That is not how Putin works. Throughout the day, we learned more about how big the diplomatic response really was. The State Department held an emergency meeting with NATO ambassadors. European Union foreign ministers had a video call that lasted more than 3 hours. Ukrainian military commanders near the front lines received updated orders. They were told to continue operations as planned, regardless of political noise from other countries. This was not just pushing back. This was not just political show. This was alliance management. This was crisis communication at its finest. Remember what Putin expected when this war started. He thought the West would fall apart after a few months. He thought Europe's need for Russian gas would force them to give up. He thought American political fighting would destroy support for Ukraine. He thought time was on his side. But tonight, the exact opposite is happening. The West remains united, maybe more united than at any point since the Cold War. European countries have found new energy sources faster than anyone predicted. American support, despite political problems, keeps coming. And Ukraine, rather than falling apart like Putin expected, has become one of the most resilient countries in modern history. Trump's comments, instead of breaking the alliance, actually seem to have made it stronger for now, because nothing brings allies together faster than a common threat. And right now, the threat is not just Russia. It is the possibility that everything built over the past 2 years could be destroyed by one election. What makes this moment so critical and so dangerous is timing. Trump's comments came when Putin is under enormous pressure. Russian military bloggers want faster progress in battle. Russian wealthy businessmen want sanctions lifted. Russian mothers want their sons home. Russian generals want more resources. Putin is trying to balance all these demands while managing an economy hurt badly by Western sanctions. When leaders in that situation hear that a potential future American president is offering a way out, they do not see a peace proposal. They see power. They see a reason to hold on a little longer. They see hope that things might turn in their favor, not through winning the war, but through political change in Washington. That is the danger of Trump's comments. Even if he never becomes president again, even if his plan never happens, just the suggestion that American policy might change has real consequences. It gives Putin the reason to keep fighting. It gives Russian commanders a reason to believe time is on their side. And it puts Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting and dying every day in an even harder spot. Here's what makes things even more troubling. Trump's comments were not alone. Several other things happened at the same time that raised alarms. Republican lawmakers have started questioning how much aid goes to Ukraine. Some want stricter oversight. Others want cuts. Conservative media has pushed stories saying the war cannot be won, that continued support is wasteful, that America should focus on problems at home. Russian state media grabbed Trump's comments immediately. They broadcast them again and again as proof that American support for Ukraine is falling apart. All of this happened within the same 72 hours. When political messages line up this closely across different platforms, it means something bigger is happening. Whether planned together or just coincidence, the effect is the same. A growing feeling that American commitment to Ukraine might be